Welcome back to the Gen 20 podcast. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Marina, and today we are talking about challenging yourself because I don't know about you, but I am in my self growth era. As we're
Mm-hmm.
recording this, I'm about to turn 32 tomorrow. And so for the last month or so, I've been thinking a lot about what I want my next year to look like, what the last year looked like, and just change in general. And so what has come up for me is that I am trying to get out of my comfort zone because I've realized you can't grow if you aren't a little bit uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So, what
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah. I think over the past, I don't know, a couple years, I would say, I feel like I've been in this place where I challenge my thoughts and beliefs about pretty much like everything. Like every thought that enters my head, like I now automatically have a counter thought to that thought.
Mhm.
Um,
It's a good
and
strategy.
yeah, I feel like it's been really helpful, like in my personal life, in my parenting life, in my business, to think of things this way. And I recently had this experience where I realized how much I had grown as a person because I wasn't like attributing an idea that I had to my own success or failure, if that makes sense, or like equating that with my worth. So,
That's
I would
huge.
not describe myself as like this huge DIYer person, okay? But I'm coming into my suburban mom life, so trying more DIY projects.
You've always been very
And
crafty and creative.
thank you. That is nice of you to say, if not completely true, but it's fine. Um
I mean it.
uh yeah. Anyway, so I saw this girl I follow on Instagram. She made this like headboard that she DIY'd, and I was like, "Oh, that's really cool. Like I can definitely make this." Cuz I wanted to make a headboard for my guest room, right? And so she didn't have step-by-step instructions for it, which I mean, I wish she had, but it's okay. But anyway,
Would you
so
have read them if they were existent? Like,
yeah,
I don't know about
because
you,
I
but
want
like,
I
I
want to
don't.
order the exact materials. Like I want to
Okay,
know
okay.
what I'm doing. But yeah, I would have read them. But anyway, I just saw the picture of the headboard and I was like, okay, we can recreate this. So me just being who I am, we just ordered the supplies we needed, had them delivered, and then my best friend came up to visit, my best friend from high school, and she has a nail gun, which I do not own. And I was not gonna buy one for this project.
No.
So she brought her nail gun and she was like, "Oh yeah, we can totally help you with this, do this." And so I'm like telling her about my plan. And when I was explaining it to them what I wanted to do, I was like, "Okay, can you poke holes in this? Like what should we do differently? What are your thoughts?" And just me saying that felt like such a powerful moment for me because I was basically like, "Tell me what I'm wrong about." Like
Mm. Hmm.
take my idea and rip it to shreds. And I feel like there's definitely a time in my life where I would have not even once said that sentence, like asked for feedback. I would have just done it. But I felt like it was such a powerful moment for me where I was like, wow, I've really grown a lot that I'm like asking to be torn apart. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that serious. It's a little DIY project, but I don't know. I felt like that was just like such a thing for me where I was like, it's really about the final product and not about me creating the final product. It's about all of us coming together and taking this thing from like an idea on paper or like in a picture and bringing it to life. And I just felt really powerful in that moment.
I think that's so important to remember that you have this power to challenge yourself and when we challenge ourselves to do things differently, it's not that we were wrong or that even wrong is bad. It's that there are more than one way, more than oh my God, what grammar is going on right there? There is more than one way. There we go. There's more than one way to do things, and something that works for you might not work for me, or vice versa. But you can't know that
Mhm.
until you try and either don't succeed or succeed. And so
Mhm.
being able to challenge those processes, it's huge. And
Mhm.
I don't know, if you're someone who is used to being just like getting things done and like just making a quick decision and not like you just don't have time to second guess it, that's I think harder because you're so used to that momentum. But
Mhm.
it's something that I've been working on is when I catch myself with, self-doubt or critical thoughts, I'm trying to challenge myself like, okay, oh, my doorbell just rang. Um, I have to go get
It's
that. I'm
okay.
sorry.
Go.
Speaking of birthdays, I just got flowers delivered for my mom. Thanks, Mom, if you're listening. Um, but I, back on track, I'm trying to challenge these self doubt thoughts because I run my own business. It's very hard. I was thinking about this a lot that I have a master's in writing. I don't have a master's in running a business. And so I'm constantly learning and growing, and it can be hard to be facing what I find disappointing. And what I've started to do is remind myself like this perceived disappointment isn't a failure. It's just something that didn't work. It's not a reflection on who I am as a writer or who I am as a coach or whatever. How can I think differently? How can I take this? How can I take a page from Nicole's book and use this as data for moving forward? It has no
Mhm.
reflection on my self worth. It's just something that occurred that I can look at analytically and move forward. And that
Mhm.
has been huge. It's been huge.
Yeah, I think like especially in the early years of entrepreneurship, it is really hard because I mean, I felt like I took everything personally early on and like it's hard not to because especially when you start your own business, you're like, "Hey, this is me. This is my business. My business is me. We're one and the same." But it's
Yeah.
really that's not the case. And it is like it's a very hard pivot and challenge, especially if you're used to working for someone else. And then you also have to kind of realize that you're not living within someone else's vision of success or like parameters for success, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And like what someone else would determine as success could be a complete failure to someone else. And it's not the same for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like we have to keep
Fully.
that in mind that that's okay. But it
And
is
that,
really hard.
yeah. And on that line, you don't have to explain yourself or what you're doing to anyone. Like people,
Mhm.
it is lovely. It is wonderful to be heard and understood. But like people don't have to understand what you're doing for it to be good for you. Like people
Mhm.
don't have to understand my business in order for me to be a business person, etc.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I think that is something that in my early 20s I just wanted to like do everything quote unquote right and be succeeding in what was a very traditional rigid definition of success. And
Mhm.
in challenging those parameters and really letting myself explore what works for me and my brain, it has been huge. And I'm just
Mhm.
going to continue to do that as I enter into my, I'm still in my early 30s, but as I enter into my mid 30s next
Yeah.
couple of years, it's
Yeah.
like, let's never stop growing.
Yeah, it's kind of something you said made me think of a thought I had the other day. And because I think a lot of people they're like, oh, there's this like talk about morning routines, right? And it's like I wake up and I have this luxurious morning routine that gets me started on my day, and I love doing X, Y, and Z. And it's like, no, you know what I love doing? I love waking up, making a coffee, and sitting down at my computer and working for 2 hours. That's what I love doing. And then I like taking a break, and then I like
Hmm.
my ease into my day
Yeah.
after I've worked for 2 hours. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. Like I I don't know. Like I've started adding stretching before I sit down, and I also recently got a treadmill desk, which has been like a huge life-changing, game-changing situation for me. Like I love it. I'm absolutely obsessed. And I think that I realized that I don't need to have this morning routine that other people have that makes them feel good because I need to do what makes me feel good. What makes me feel productive? What makes me feel happy with what I accomplished at the end of the day? And like that's what you need to focus on. I'm also a very firm believer in putting your head down and like doing work and working hard towards your goals so that you'll achieve
Mhm.
them, but like your goals don't have to be the same as other people's goals. And like that's okay.
Yeah. Challenge yourself to figure out new goals if the goals that are kind of set forth in front of you are not serving you.
Mhm.
When you were saying that, Nicole, I was thinking about how, like, since I moved back to LA, I don't have any hobbies. And I joke, like, oh, my hobby is petting dogs, which is true. But in the last couple of weeks, I've really thought about, okay, I really don't have any hobbies. I don't have life outside of work. That's not okay for my health moving forward. Like
Mm,
what life can I build for myself where I don't only think about business growth and the bottom line and whatever. And
mhm,
that, like, it used to be like, oh, this is just like funny, quirky. I don't have any hobbies. And it's like, no, actually, I'm identifying this as a space where I want to improve and get
mhm,
to know myself better
mhm,
because like we work so hard that we forget that there's life outside of like work, but
mhm.
we have to have life outside of work. And
Yeah.
so that's just another one of the ways I'm challenging myself in my self growth era.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that because I think it's like you should focus on the things that you enjoy. And it's like it's also totally fine to be in a phase, a year, a month, whatever, an era where that's what you want to do is work really hard. Like I feel like I spent most of 2022 in that era and it like really paid off for me and I really appreciate myself for that. And it's like but then there's like an ebb and flow. So it's like the next year, like with the treadmill desk, that's me being like, well, I still want to accomplish X, Y, and Z with work, but like I also want to get more movement into my day. So this
Mm-hmm.
is the way I can combine those things. And usually I read a lot. That's probably like my biggest hobby is reading. And reading is not tied to my work, so you probably feel a little differently about it. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure it's like
reading is
author. Yeah.
my, yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun.
But
It's my favorite part of work, but it's my
yeah,
work.
yeah. I mean, reading, like, that's a hobby for me, and I haven't been reading as much right now, and, like, sometimes I feel bad about that, but then other times I'm like, "It's okay to be in my reading flop era, like, that's okay, like, we are
My
going to pick
reading
back
flop.
up next month, like,
It's
it'll
just
be
your
fine."
hibernation time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the "in my flop era" saying, I think
Flop
it's so
era.
funny. I think it's so funny, but it's like, it's okay, like, we're not all meant to be like blooming. Like we do have to hibernate sometimes. And I think that it's okay to like recognize that we're in these different phases and that we just are. Like it's okay. And
Yeah,
I think like right now when you're hibernating, you can still be in your self-growth era. You're just working on something internally, right?
exactly.
And
You gotta like it's like like a tulip bulb. It has to germinate
mhm.
and do all its little plant things under the soil before it can sprout up and bloom.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think it's just really important that we all just take time and really reflect on like what's important to us. And like if you're feeling unhappy in your life or something feels not in alignment, I guess might be a better way to phrase it, then maybe reflect on why that is. Because also with parenting, like sometimes I feel like in the afternoons with my kids, like sometimes I don't feel like they're a mom, I feel like they're a babysitter. And I think I'd rather be doing some work or something for myself than just sitting and watching them play. And then other
Mhm,
times I'm like, this is so wonderful that I get to sit here and
mhm.
watch these kids bicker over the same color Play-Doh. That is just such a joy of my life. And both can be true. Both can be true at the same
Both
time.
can be true. So whether you are in your early 20s, mid 20s, 30s, whatever age you are in, it's okay to be in your flop era. It's okay to be hibernating and germinating. Just challenge yourself, get curious, think about what will make you happy, not just right now in the moment, but long term. And then be in your self growth era.
Mhm. Right on. This has been another episode of the Gen 20 podcast. Please leave us a rating review, 5-star rating, please. Thank you so much. We love you guys. Bye.
Bye.